أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
There is another problem that the Masons need to contend with if they are to be the masters of this global union. By the 1970s, it was becoming increasingly clear that the population of Europe and white America was rapidly declining. Unless something was done, the expanding size of the population of third world nations would pose a serious threat to national security of Masonically controlled countries. Western consumer power and productivity would reduce, and as a result, they would be completely dependent on that of the third world population.
In December of 1974, the U.S. government made third world population reduction a central national security issue. The operation plan, titled National Security Study Memorandum 200, was simply a regurgitation of the British Commission on Population, created by King George VI of England in 1944, which openly stated that populous third world nations posed a threat to the international elite's monopoly of global power. The Kissinger-authored U.S. plan targeted 13 key countries where massive population reduction was called for.
This is the health pyramid, another wonderful example of how this works. You've got the transnational drug corporations controlled by this global elite. They, the transnational drug corporations, created the World Health Organization within the United Nations. The World Health Organization, as a committee called Codex, which is devising regulations to make life very much more difficult for alternative healing and food supplements, etc. The Codex regulations come down and are introduced by European and national governments, go through the medical profession, and then are imposed on the people.
In 1994, Codex, with no notice here in this country whatsoever, declared nutrients, put on your intellectual seatbelts, declared nutrients to be toxins. So what we're talking about is waking up one morning and being very surprised to find that high-potency, therapeutically effective, clinically significant nutrients are now illegal according to the World Trade Organization and the Food and Agriculture Organization joint projections. Now, I didn't make this up. Please, if you unfastened your intellectual seatbelts, put them back on again. Do the numbers in the WHO-FAO projections, the epidemiological projections. They estimate, not I, because what do I know? They estimate, they're the experts, that just the vitamin and mineral guideline alone, when it goes into global implementation on December 31st, 2009, will result in a minimum of 3 billion, that's B, bad, big, billion deaths.
The Associated Press reports that there were traces of drugs, including prescription medicines, in the water supplies of 24 U.S. metropolitan areas. They include anticonvulsants, mood stabilizers, sex hormones, and prescription drugs and over-the-counter pain medications. In Philadelphia, in fact, the AP says tests showed the presence of 56 drugs, including the antibiotics amoxicillin and tetracycline.
For decades, Americans associated fluoride with good dental hygiene, which is why it's still added to most public water supplies. But today, 600 health professionals and scientists, including Dr. Arvid Carlson, a Nobel laureate of medicine, are calling on Congress to ban the use of fluoride immediately.
This is one pollutant that we capture in the phosphate fertilizer industry, and having captured it, we can't dump it into the sea, but we put it into our own drinking water. It's extraordinary.
Fluoride in our water supply is a very real and ever-present risk to our population at large.
In 2006, a report by the National Academy of Sciences identified fluoride as a potent hormone disruptor that can affect your thyroid and potentially lower the IQ of children.
Well, in the 1930s, scientists wondered how Hitler could rule Germany and Stalin could rule Russia. These were vast territories. He could rule with practically no army. And the answer was they had discovered during the 1920s that adding sodium fluoride to the drinking water made the people very passive.
Could a strange substance found by a southwest Arkansas man be part of a government test? Well, that's the question at the heart of a phenomenon called chemtrails, now getting widespread attention.
They begin as normal contrails from a jet engine, but do not fade away like a normal contrail. Soon after, he saw particles in the air.
You know, because we'd see it drop to the ground in a haze.
Nichols then noticed the material collecting on the ground.
This is water and stuff that I collected in bowls. I had it set out in my backyard on my dad's pickup truck.
KSLA News 12 had the sample tested at a lab. The results? A high level of barium, 6.8 parts per million, more than 3 times the toxic level set by the EPA.
Production of deadly microbes to control or slow the growth of the Earth's population. AIDS is only one result of these plans.
It was said that the virus originated from green monkeys in Africa and was later passed on to the local population through either acts of bestiality or through consuming them as food. From there on, AIDS spread like wildfire across the African continent and later on to the rest of the world, claiming millions of lives. However, the story was just a smokescreen. On June 2nd, 1988, the Los Angeles Times published an article refuting the idea that the human AIDS virus originated from green monkeys. It uncovered evidence that the DNA composition of AIDS was totally inconsistent with that of green monkeys. In fact, it could be proven that the AIDS virus could not be found anywhere in nature and could only have ever survived in the human biological system. If the virus did not exist anywhere in nature, the question is raised as to where exactly the virus all of a sudden stemmed from. On July the 4th, 1984, the New Delhi newspaper in India called The Patriot published an article making the first detailed charges of AIDS as being a counter-biological warfare agent. An anonymous American anthropologist was quoted claiming that AIDS was genetically engineered at the U.S. Army's Biological Warfare Laboratory at Fort Detrick near Frederick, Maryland. On October the 26th, 1986, the Sunday Express became the first Western newspaper to run a front-page story confirming the findings of the Indian and Soviet newspapers entitled AIDS Made in Lab Shop. The outbreak of AIDS has been linked to vaccine programs around the world. The internationally respected London Times newspaper published an article at the front-page story on May the 11th, 1987 entitled Smallpox Vaccine Triggered AIDS. The article establishes a direct correlation between the smallpox vaccine administered by the World Health Organization to an estimated 50 to 70 million people in different Central African countries and the subsequent outbreaks of AIDS in those regions. The World Health Organization is the medical wing of the United Nations. The evidence suggests that AIDS is a genetically engineered virus spread through vaccination programs in third world countries, germ warfare against the innocent and the weak, aimed at eliminating an entire populace off the face of the earth.
We are closely monitoring the emerging cases of swine flu in the United States. And this is obviously a cause for concern and requires a heightened state of alert.
The president now declaring the H1N1 outbreak a national emergency. The White House says the president signed this proclamation last night. It will allow medical officials to bypass certain federal requirements. Some officials describe this move as being similar to a declaration ahead of a hurricane.
And since the goal that I have read of the elite, if I can use that word, is to diminish our population on planet Earth by at least 2/3, maybe even 5 billion. So that's very, very negative.
Can you explore that more? I mean, we're facing this new disease which is coming out, the
swine
flu.
Oh, that's just rubbish. I mean, that is really rubbish. You know, it's not the swine flu that's dangerous, it's the injections. And of course, behind the whole thing is to diminish world population, because it's very toxic, and to get milliards and milliards and milliards into the pockets of those who put them out. Rumsfeld is an owner also in one of the big drug companies. And since they want to diminish the population, so they start saying that children and pregnant women are the first ones. Eliminate the next generation. They are just having a scary program in the mass media. All mass media says, oh, it's going to be terrible. Now it's something, bang, bang, bang. It's a scary, scary, scary propaganda. And people get scared because they don't know.
So what's the ultimate strategy, do you think, that's happening with this? What's their target? What's their intent?
The target is to get rid of so many people as possible and to get as much money for them as possible.
Pour moi, l'enjeu là, c'est d'empêcher que cette campagne de vaccination se fasse. Parce que je n'ai pas envie que mon voisin, petit vieux, mal informé et que tout ça dépasse, se fasse potentiellement empoisonner par ces vaccins, ni les enfants de ma voisine. Ce qui est en train de se jouer, je vais être cruel, Jean-Jacques Brien, je vais être violent, pardonnez-moi. Non. Amour. Souvenez-vous, il y a 70 ans, les conducteurs de train de la SNCF, eux aussi, ils étaient réquisitionnés. Et ils ont conduit leur train.
De tous les pays de l'Europe nazie, des trains entiers roulent vers la mort.
Et
j'entends bien le message.
70 ans, c'est un peu... Mais oui, c'est violent, je vous avais prévenu. Mais réfléchissez bien à ça, c'est pas tellement à vous que je suis en train de m'adresser, vous le savez très bien, mais je m'adresse aussi à beaucoup d'élus qui n'ont pas conscience de ce qui est en train de se passer. Parce que ce qui est en train de se passer, c'est pas une simple opération vaccinale.
Ce nouveau vaccin anti-H1N1 a été créé en un temps record, du jamais vu dans toute l'histoire de la vaccination.
Je n'ai pas envie de jouer dans cette manipulation-là. Et non seulement je n'ai pas envie de jouer, mais il est très clair qu'avec une quantité de personnes ici en France, nous agissons et nous allons continuer à agir, non pas pour voir ce qui se passe, mais pour empêcher.